Hey guys, Leash here. I'm really excited to be able to talk you through this case study that we did with an incredible myotherapist with a 25-year experience career, where he talks about how he harnessed his knowledge and created a premium online program and what that's meant for him and his family. So this is an amazing guy with lots of experience, basically developed his own technique, and he's going to share his story of how we basically took 25 years worth of knowledge and crammed that into an e-program, and we did it all in the space of about 2 to 3 months. And he's going to share his story of how that works, because he's not usually a progress over perfection kind of guy, and we've really had to work with him on how to actually do this, how to overcome some procrastination, some fears that so many of us have when we're looking at running our business. So I can't wait to be able to share this with you guys. Listen in as Tim shares his awesome experience over the last 12 months, how much it's changed his business, and what it has enabled him to do for him and his family. Hey there, Tim. Thanks so much for joining us today. It's great to have you on this case study, be able to have a chat with you.
Good to see you, Alicia.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'd love it if you want to share with us a little bit about your business. You've obviously been working with us for around 12 months-ish now, and have a really cool story for you. So if you maybe want to share with us your journey over the last 25, 26 years, something like that, as a therapist, and kind of go through what you've been working through a little bit. Far away.
Okay. So I trained in myotherapy about 20 and a bit years ago at RMIT. I have a story there around starting practice, kind of being forced into a corner where no one would employ me, so I had to get results and figure stuff out myself. And that meant that I found, A, that what I did was very, very effective, but B, that I had the ability to really engage with people and kind of market myself. So that meant that over 3 years, I built my myotherapy practice up to seeing 100 patients a week. I continued to do that for about for 5 years at that capacity. I started to employ staff, started to grow a bigger practice, but then diversified, got into some humanitarian and ministry stuff, but the business that I had running was able to support me. So I've never had to find support from anyone else, because my business could support me while I studied another degree, and I could still see 50 patients a week, and then engage in other activities as well. And so for the last 15 years, I've been doing a combination of clinical work and ministry / humanitarian stuff as well. Then in the last 18 months, I have continued with that humanitarian stuff and moved overseas, but that forced upon me the need to generate income more passively. And so because I was so skilled at what I could do clinically, and I figured out I really have something to offer, because a lot in my industry struggle to be as successful. I thought if I can monetize that training, streamline it, and deliver it online, then that would be great. I just had absolutely no idea where to start. I kind of know how computers work and where the keys are and where the screen is, but not a lot more than that. And I just happened to bump into, literally, like serendipitously, bump into James and Alicia, and they said, hey, we're building stuff to help practitioners develop and deliver their technical training online. And so, of course, I thought that was very, very providential. And that's where, and so over the last 12 months, where are we now? Yeah, over the last 12 months, been building and then starting to deliver, market, and sell an online program whilst moving my family overseas, whilst moving out of our house, whilst engaging in new cross-cultural works, whilst learning a new language, whilst there's a few other things in there, but I just can't think of them off the top of my head.
So I still remember our first conversation when we chatted about 12 months ago, when we were talking about creating your program that you'd spent 25 years making, like in the making, and creating how this worked, and obviously replicating your results with your staff and with other therapists, and going, okay, I want to take this. And basically you're like, cool. So I was thinking I'll get some of the videos done and I'll put it together when I'm overseas, and then we can look at marketing it or whatever. And I'm like, no, you'll have it built before you leave. I think you nearly spat your coffee out at me in the moment. And I think you might have
That's exactly right.
And I think you might have said a few choice words in your mind.
I didn't say them out loud?
No. I think I just read them in your face. So talk to me a bit about how you found that, because I mean, often I'm the sort of person that says, say yes, work the details out later, which sometimes is a
I've noticed.
Yeah, which is a stretch for people who like to do things really well. And something that I love about you is that I know you love to do things with excellence. Some would say perfectionist, but I like to say with excellence. And that having to do the 80-20 rule, which is basically progress over perfection. Talk to us about what that was like for you, coming from the model of I want to have everything sorted to I just have to create stuff and I don't actually get the opportunity to understand everything fully. What was that like for you as you grew new neural pathways about it?
Yeah, neural pathways, that's good terminology. We were sitting in a coffee shop and I was explaining to Alicia and James how good it would be for me to use some of my time while I'm overseas to develop this training online and learn all the stuff and all that kind of stuff. In the meantime, I would have to seek support from benevolent people who could help us cover the costs to do this trip. And Alicia said, this is 3 months from us leaving the country. And Alicia said, no, build it first, make the money, and then pay for yourself to go. And I said, I just said, don't be ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Like packing up house, closing down a business, moving country, and building, an income stream at the same time. Don't be ridiculous. But she forced me to, as she does, she forced me to think about it. Well, it made me think about it. And I just kind of thought, well, to be honest, from that point on, if Alicia and James couldn't have fulfilled their side of the deal, which was literally provide, we call it, what do we call it? Training as you go type of training.
Like bit by bit?
Yes.
Like step by step,
yes.
taking the step by step.
Yeah. So when you need the next piece, that's when you learn it. You don't learn it beforehand. So unless they were able to deliver each piece, I didn't know what the fourth piece or fifth piece was, but at least I knew what the first piece was. So as long as they could deliver each piece in order sequentially, then I could just focus on that and build each piece. And so that made it possible. Otherwise, totally impossible.
Yeah. It's called the lean model of learning. It's like, because often we kind of look at, well, the big picture is I want to create a premium online program. I guess that has to take a long time, or, we have all these presuppositions around it that it has to be hard. I don't understand technology, when exactly like what you've said, there's just literally, okay, let's break this down. What does it mean? It means that you need to get your website sorted because you need a platform. You need to get week 1 built out. Then you need to get some videos done. And it's like, we literally just broke down step by step. And, gave you a bit of a pep talk occasionally when, the world was kind of coming to an end. Literally, you were creating the end of it. And it was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. What am I actually doing? And it's like, just having the right steps at the right time makes all the difference, because you don't actually have to know at the start what step 5 is, or step 10, or even at some points what step 2 was. It was just literally, what is your focus for this month in order to actually create the results that you wanted. So, which
is kind of good, because if I knew step 223 at the start, I probably wouldn't have started, but I only thought there was 6 steps, but there was really 7,429 steps,
which you happened to do in the first 3 months, which is pretty cool, right?
Yeah, and that 80-20 thing, that's gold. I'm actually applying that to other spheres of my life more and more now.
So unpack that for us. What does that mean for you?
Yeah. So, for example, I knew I wouldn't, in a third world country, I'm not going to have an opportunity to do high quality video recording. And so I had a deadline to develop all of the material and then film it. And so for a 6-week program, there's a fair bit of video because there's a lot of hands-on demo. And so I engaged a guy who I know is a professional, really good, paid him a pile of money. And so he did a very, very professional job, but we smashed it out in 2 days. Like I actually, by the last, and so it was very good. And that 80-20 thing means that I probably could have done it a little bit better, but probably not a lot better. I don't think. If I had the extra time, and in fact, it's better to get it out there and just start using it, and then you can tweak and refine and add a bit and adjust once you've seen the product, rather than thinking you've got it perfect the first time. It's not as effective.
And what do you think?
So
if you weren't applying the 80-20 rule, how long do you think that it would have taken you to do those videos?
Maybe 4 to 6 weeks of filming.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Because if you've got time, you go, we'll just do it next week and do a little bit here and a little bit there.
Yeah.
But actually filming them all, 6 weeks worth of content in 20 hours over 2 days, gave it a lot more continuity anyway, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
As well.
And that is the classic case of 80-20, is that we often think, like, it take 4 to 6 weeks to do anything, whether it's the first Facebook ad, whether it's your first Facebook Live, your first blog post, your first lot of videos, whatever. We tend to procrastinate or try and make them perfect. When you smashed out 2 days worth of, 6 weeks worth of content in 2 days that you've now used as your premium program, and you filled it out with a bunch of other stuff as well. And so you basically were able to create what we call the DNA of your program. So you went through and went, okay, I've got 25 years worth of knowledge. How do I condense that down into actually teachable modules? So we created that with you, which is your DNA. Then we had make sure we had the platform right, which was your website, which you already had, but we kind of tweaked it to what we needed. Then you did your videos. And then basically you spent some time putting all that together. Like, how do you get your slideshows together? How do you get your videos? And the different days actually built out. Yep. Then it was kind of like, okay, now what do I do? Because you'd moved over to Mauritius by then. We spent 3 months setting all that up, moving over to Mauritius. We gave you a couple of weeks off just so people aren't worried that we were flogging someone to death here. You had a couple of weeks off to kind of relax, integrate into a developing nation and transition his entire family into it. And he's like, now what? I'm like, cool, now we do marketing. So talk to us through the marketing steps or something else that I may have forgotten in there.
Well, marketing steps. I'm just reflecting on the build. 2 hours 2 days of filming. But when you've got that guy in the room who's worth, I don't know how much an hour to do the filming, that you want to have what you want to be good. So the real work, the real hard work, was probably the 100+ hours of developing the actual content. Yeah. And then, because you brainstorm it all, then you figure out how does it fit in a sequential order, and then you figure out what's going to go into each week. Which was gold experience, because to be able to unpack, 20 years of clinical experience into a learnable pattern framework was a brilliant exercise for me. Anyway, so that was that part. But I also remember creating tutorials 2 days before Christmas, sitting in my father-in-law's study because we weren't in our house anymore. And just trying to shut all the blinds and windows and block all the noise out so that I could run the tutorials and record them and upload them and all of that kind of stuff. It's just hilarious. Anyway, so like you said, then we moved countries. So then marketing, yes. I thought that all that build stuff was the hard part. But marketing is the next degree, the next diploma, so to speak. It's the next step, but there's so much to learn there.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's just more than I anticipated.
Absolutely. And that was why when you said to us, you know, I'm going to be over there and I'm thinking you're building the course. I'm like, no, because you're basically working, you know, doing your humanitarian stuff 5 days a week. You've only got 2 days to do this. You're going to need to spend that on marketing. And like, I could foresee what was going to happen. I don't think you, like you said, you hadn't seen step 7,064, but we had. And so it was like, okay, well, now you've got time to focus on your marketing, and you know exactly what you're marketing because you've got your whole program ready to rock. And normally what we actually do is get people to fit out week 1 of the program, so they know it exists. They've got everything else planned out, but then start making sales and then start actually doing some sales calls. Whereas with you, because you were moving, we kind of put everything together, then we market. So talk to us a bit about what kind of marketing did you do to start to generate leads and get to know people? Because obviously you're coming from a place of doing, like, you were really well known in this area. So you're from Geelong, where we're from. So you've been really well known, been around for 25 years. And now you're basically taking that to a whole new audience. What was that like, becoming like going into a cold audience and actually taking something brand new into it? What was that like for you?
It sucks. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah,
because
be honest,
the reason why I say that is because once you've been in practice for 20 years, even 5 years or 10 years, and you've got a full book, you don't have to do sales anymore. Not sales, not cold calling. People just book in, and you just see them and you say, I'm going to need to see you this many times, and they have confidence in you, they trust you, they know you, and all of that kind of thing, because their friend and their auntie and their other friend sent them along to you. And so, I remember, you know, this process has taken me all the way back to my very first year of clinical work, where I had to try and convince people that they could trust me and that I had a good product. And so it's starting that all over again, which with a new audience. So that's tough. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like cold calling, you know, trying to convince people that you're trustworthy, that you have a good product, and giving them enough information so they can actually see that's real. It's very doable, but it is a little bit like starting all over again, because new audience and that type of thing. So I started with colleagues and just people who knew me. And the funny thing is, you know, well, it's not funny, it's just true. People who knew me already clinically, like other practitioners, they just bought the program. They just didn't even ask a question. They said, yep, I want to do it.
Yep.
I said, by the way, how much is it, you know? So it's amazing relationally when people trust you and know that you're good at what you do or whatever, that they'll just buy it. But then, so that's my first 10 people.
Yeah.
But
nice.
then everyone after that, you've got to meet them, you've got to talk to them, you've got to engage them in conversation, you've got to walk through the process, you've got to convince them this is worth their while, and all of that kind of stuff, which has been a relearning curve, really.
Yeah. Because it is different going, hey, you know, come in and have an $85 or $110 massage, as opposed to a premium program, which what we mean by premium is that it's $1,000 or more. So often premium programs can be between $1,000 and $5,000. And so you're basically putting out bits of content through Facebook and through other mediums where people download stuff to build trust. So we call that content marketing, or James likes to call it helpful marketing, where you're literally giving them some breadcrumbs of what it is that you offer, and then they go, or you're putting out the fishing net, or, you know, casting the net out and going, yep, cool, bringing people in, you're getting numbers and leads, and then you basically pick up the phone and call them. And so it is very different to someone looking for a treatment. They're often already calling you saying, hey, I've got a sore neck, I saw you on Facebook, or I saw you on the internet, can I have a treatment? So it's a really different kind of strategy. So what were some of the content pieces that you were putting out there, first of all?
So learning to advertise on Facebook was a huge learning curve. I didn't even think or anticipate that. I don't know how I thought I was going to market, but I hadn't thought of that because it was step 223. I made sure when I was filming that I got my camera dude while I was dressed up and sitting in the right place and all of that to film some 30-second and 1-minute clips, just addressing bits and pieces of therapy. I identified, my 3 pillars, I guess: confidence, efficiency, and results. And then my marketing would revolve around one of those areas. So I would just basically try and call out an issue that I knew that myotherapists have, like you're not getting good enough results, or you're getting good results, but your efficiency, you're getting worn out. And here's how this technique can solve that issue or solve the other issue. So again, through your training, I kind of intuitively knew this, but it was great to get a lot of clarity and direction around how to put that in front of people with the need first. I'm still getting better at it. It takes a lot of practice to be able to do that. What's the solution that you have, and making that the headline, and then starting that education process of how you can help people to overcome that problem.
Yeah, nice. So it kind of went from how do I take my IP of 25 years and put that into something? And we created that. And then it was learning how do I market that? So how do I take everything to a cold audience? And we nailed that. Now talk to us about the sales process for you, because this is something that a lot of people have this awesome idea of, I think I could create a program and I could sell it and people would love it and it's awesome. But talk to us about the process that you found so far, with having some wins, having some challenges, having some success, having more challenges. Kind of talk to us about the sales process and what you found that to be like.
One of the big challenges has been my Facebook had Myotherapist as a category, and so I could just deliver directly to my niche audience, which is not big. And then they removed it as a category. So now my niche audience has disappeared from Facebook, and so it became a moving target in that respect. So that was tough. So I've actually had to adjust my strategy to how I engage or find or connect with my specific niche audience. So that's been a real challenge. Realism has been a challenge. So just how many leads do I need to generate in order to generate how many calls, and then how many of those audition calls turn into sales calls, and then how many of those sales calls turn into sales, has been a learning curve, and there's been frustration, disappointment, and all those good things along that part of the journey, because, I don't know, 100 leads, and then you get through to 20 or something people, and then you have 12 or 15 of them actually move on to good sales conversations. Then obviously you want to convert all 12 of those. And one of the big frustrations, I had a conversation with Alicia about this a few months ago, was when I'd had half a dozen really good leads that had turned into sales conversations. Had a great conversation. At the end of the conversation, the person goes, "Yep, 100%. It's so good. That I need to do that program for 12 different reasons, and it's just brilliant." And I think I'd already given them the cost and stuff, and then I just failed to sell it to them. After that, they just didn't buy it. I'm like, "What are you thinking? Like, why wouldn't you? What is wrong with you?" It's I was indignant. Like, it was, but you can't be rude, like, to people. Yeah. And so you just see people kind of making their own bed, and it's really frustrating. That is not a good bed. Like, you go, well, you're just going to perpetuate your own lack of success now, whereas you could have paid for this thing in just a few months if you started to apply what you were learning, and you're right in the prime place. And anyway, so when I was crying myself to sleep after a couple of days of that, that was a real wake-up call as far as how important it is to help people get over the line when they get to that point at the end. And I'm still working on that. I've got a much higher percentage of success now, but it's certainly not as high as I'd like it to be. It's a tough learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to us about some of the results. First of all, let's talk about, so you were looking originally at getting essentially crowdfunding to fund you guys going over and doing the humanitarian work that you're doing in Mauritius. And we kind of said, okay, what if we just created a program so you could sell it? Talk to us about how many sales have you been making? At the start, we suggested with Tim to get the evidence of success, to get the ball rolling, that you have the first sort of 5 or so people come on board at half price, so that you actually get that
evidence of success for yourself, because you're delivering something, you've never delivered it before, you don't know if it's going to work, you're pretty sure it is. So talk to us first of all about the sales that you've had through and how many people you've had, and if you've needed crowdfunding, and then we'll talk about the actual results that your clients have gotten from working with you in the program.
Yeah. So initially we were trying to get full sponsorship to cover us for the year from crowdfunding and benevolent organisations and stuff like that. We ended up raising about 40% of our budget from people that helped us. But then we kind of, through another organisation, we were able to consolidate that budget to cover us for the first few months. Mm-hmm. So it meant at the end of March, January, February, March, if my program wasn't making any money, we were done. So I used January, February, March to learn all the marketing and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And I think it was February. No, I think it was February actually. I put my first group through, as Alicia suggested, with colleagues, people that I could discount who I just wanted to get some people through the program. And so, yeah, I remember actually, I think it was March, the organisation covering us were meant to send half of our budget through, and they called us and said, oh, we've had lots of expenses on your behalf with insurances and this and that. We can't actually send any money through this month, but the program covered it. And it was the first month that the program, it covered our living costs for the month. And yeah, so that was, I don't know if you believe in God or anything, but that's a real God thing for me, that just the timing was incredible. It's just hilarious. The day the money runs out, then there's the program starts making money. So yeah, that was the first 5. And then I've adjusted how often I roll out the course. It's been test and measure as far as how many people is good in the groups. I've set some targets, 3 or 4 in the first group, and then 6 or 7, and building up to 10 in the group. I haven't had 10 in a group yet. I've run 5 or 6 courses now with 4 to 6 people in each course. Mm-hmm. And just recalibrating, I was coming up to the month where I was aiming to get 10 people into the course, ran a webinar for the first time, went really well, got a bunch of leads, got a handful of sales. But then the people that purchased it kind of bought a month ahead or 2 months ahead or 3 months ahead type of thing, which I don't know, still testing and measuring whether that's actually a good idea or not. But it meant that my month for 10 ended up still being 4 or something, and because the people were spread out over the next. So I kind of hit my target as far as sales go, but I was still a bit deflated because just learning, again, how far do I have to forecast to fit them, to hit my targets. It's just a big learning curve.
Absolutely. Well, I
don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing about learning curves is that you can't unlearn it. Like when you've learned that, when you've mastered, when you've created a program, you can't unlearn all that stuff. When you've created marketing campaigns, like if you choose to come back to Australia and work out of a clinic and have 50 staff, you're going to know marketing so well that you can't unlearn that stuff. You can always use it somewhere. Sales are the same. If you can sell your way out of anything. Like sales is one of those things that I liken sales to having kids, because I know for me, when I'm getting really frustrated at my son, it's often because I'm seeing my own behavior modeled to me in 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, 9-year-old boy form. And it's literally seeing my own behavior modeled to me. And it's like, we can only ever take people through a sales process to the extent that we're willing to grow ourselves, because we're always going to get faced with a version of us. There's always going to be limiting beliefs that we have. If we have limiting beliefs around sales, our product, how far is too far? How far can you go on a sales call? How do you help someone across the line? What's ethical? What's not? Once you learn how to navigate that from a heart-centered space, You can literally sell your way out of anything. And it's such a gold vital skill, I think, to have in the adult world, but we're often not taught it. And we're kind of taught that sales is bad. We're taught that, you have that kind of used car salesman with the gold chains and the fur, and you go, oh no, I don't want to be like him. And it's like, we can't outrun our resistance. Whatever part of our business that we're working on at the moment, if it's a therapist that's learning how to read books, if it's somebody who wants to take, like what you've done, take something that they've created over the last 25 years and put it into an e-program and then basically run with it and create a business around it, you can't outrun your resistance. For you, if you were still trying to do perfection, you'd be about a month in, like you probably wouldn't have even created the program if push hadn't come to shove and you had this crazy person saying, let's do it in 3 months. I thought it would take 3 years. No, 3 months. Let's do it. It's just out. Sales are the same, and it often takes a lot of courage to step into that. And you can't. It's a bit like public speaking. You can only get good at public speaking by speaking in public. It's the only way to get good at it. It's the same with sales calls. It's literally just picking up the phone and talking to people and going, I think I just messed that up. Right. Well, what could I do to change it for next time? How could I learn from that?
Yeah.
What would somebody else have done?
It's amazing how insecure we are as human beings. So I've had 5 people, 10 people, 15 people through the training, and every single one of them has said that was so awesome, including people who have who I've had to give them a kick to get into it. They've been like, oh, I'm not sure, before they've purchased. And then when they've purchased afterwards, they're just, thank you. It was so brilliant for all these reasons. And I say, do you regret doing it? And they say, no. So you can hear that 100 times. And then one person will question, not someone who's done the program, someone who knows nothing about it, will question it or question you or question your integrity or whatever. And you'll think, oh, maybe it's not very good. Maybe it's not a good program. It's just, we're so insecure as human beings. And then you lack confidence in your next sales call because of that. So, it's so confidence in what you've got. And when you say the car salesman and all that kind of stuff, it depends what you're selling as well. Like if you're selling crap, then, it is unethical. But if you've got something that is really going to help people and is sensational and it's high quality and it's worth every cent, then sales is awesome. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. So talk to us about, because sometimes people have an objection around learning online, or they might be wondering, how can my clients get results if I create a program? So what are some of the tangible results that your program, so it's called King Myo Pro, your technique and your whole program. What are some of the tangible results that you've seen in the myos and massage therapists that you've worked with?
Just results, because I've, even from early days, I've really questioned the paradigms that we were taught, I guess, at uni and how the body responds to what we do. So part of the training is to help people think differently about how the body responds to their manipulation. And then that in turn means it gives them mental and permission to do things differently. And pretty much all the people that do the training, even after the first week, say, wow, I did this and I can't believe it worked. Like I did it differently. And so as soon as therapists see that they can get the same results with less hard work, immediately that's a huge win, and it just feeds into the rest of the training that helps consolidate the rest of the training. As far as learning online, I got a good a professional cameraman to do close-ups and all that kind of stuff, so the hands-on manipulation was very clear. And very few people no one's had any issues with it. Some have said, when you run a face-to-face course at some stage in the future, I just want to just check some pressures and some of this and that. But it's definitely enough information to get people competent at what they're doing. And the other big win, which is something unforeseen, I didn't realise, was by delivering the material over 6 weeks. And almost like a drip feed, it's very different to doing a weekend course where you get a big download of information and you apply 20% of it on Monday and 8% of it on Tuesday, and then you kind of have a book on the shelf. Whereas delivering it this way, it means that with an ongoing Facebook group, I can have ongoing mentoring and comment and Q&A with people. And the way I've built the program, it runs from simple concepts to more complex. And so it literally builds, and as I say in sales calls all the time now, applied knowledge you remember, but knowledge that you don't apply, you don't remember. And so I'm going to give you some information, and then you're going to apply it clinically this week and play with it, and it will stick. So I'll just turn that off. And so the actual delivery format, because it's online, I can give people 6 weeks and they can integrate it into what they're already doing. And it's actually, that therefore means at the end of the 6 weeks, people are saying to me, this is the best thing I've ever done. And I don't think it's necessarily the best course I've ever done. I don't think it's necessarily because the content is incredible, although it's brilliant content, but it's because it's so applicable and it's making a real world difference in the way they're working.
Yeah. You're very involved in their learning, aren't you? Like, it's not like, oh, here's the login, laters. Like, how do you actually make sure? Because we know for us, when we're teaching anything online, that there are 3 components to it. That there's the content, which has to be on point, like you've talked about. There's also the community, so a tribe of like-minded people, and there's the accountability. So talk to us about your involvement with the therapist as they're going through. So it's not just a set model.
Yeah, no, it's not. So, and people don't realise this as well. I think the price is high, perhaps at the start. But if you knew that you're getting the content, which is 20 years of experience, you're getting the technique, but then you're also getting coached for 6 weeks, that costs a fortune. Like, you can't get that for $2,000 or whatever it might be. And so I deliberately run small groups. They're not too big. And there's feedback at the end of every week. So what's your success, and a challenge and a revelation type of thing. And then I just interact with that. So for me, it doesn't take a lot of time, but it means I am available 5 or 6 days a week for them. But in reality, most of the conversation is around that feedback time frame. And so, they get all their questions answered as they go. So it's very, very interactive. And occasionally I'll, as needed, if 2 or 3 or 4 people come up with the same issue, I'll create a video that addresses that specifically and just post it into the group. So,
Which is perfect. And that's how it should be, because the idea behind having it, like you said, like if you can apply the learning as you're going, phenomenal for them. Also, most of how the delivery is already being done for you. So the idea is you can actually replicate those results by minimum amount of contact now, which is why we invested 3 months of insanity basically to create it, so that now the actual delivery of your content it's still there, and the way that you deliver it is beautifully done. So they feel like they're very involved. Like, it's not just a cookie cutter, but in actual fact, a bunch of it is cookie cutter, because it's just done for you, because you've done for you already what you kind of invested the time back then to save time now, which enables you to be able to market and do the sales. Whereas if you were in a teaching room trying to teach that every month or 2, trying to do 5 days worth of hands-on, you wouldn't actually have the time to do the marketing and the sales calls, because you're face-to-face so often.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct. So, you want to be able to say to people, okay, you want to get from seeing this many people up to seeing this many people, and you want to be more efficient at what you do. What would you say if I sat down for about 100 hours and took my 20 years of experience and created a way to teach that to you, and then consolidated it into a teaching program that I could deliver to you personally, and we could keep talking about it over a 6-week period so that you could make that real change? How much would that be worth? I mean, my time's worth a couple $100 an hour. So 100 hours of that, and then you add, so the fact that you can deliver it this way, I mean, modern technology, it's just gold. It's brilliant. And it's you're still very engaged. You get to know your clients well, and have build relationship with them, and can coach them in a very, very specific way.
Yeah.
But the bulk of the concepts and the demonstrations, it's all done.
Yeah, nice. So what's been some of your other experiences working with us through the Six Figure Therapist program? So we've helped you with the content. We've been able to help you with lots of other bits and pieces. Is there anything specifically that you wanted to share with us around your experience or something you've loved, or I don't know, whatever?
I'm very utilitarian, so I just get stuff done. I haven't been socially interactive with James and Alicia a lot throughout this journey. I know they've got lots of other people to talk to who love them. So I would literally take what I need, that's the next piece, and I would just hammer away at it until I got stuck. And then, but a bit like the program that I'm delivering now, they were always there to say, within 24 hours, if I sent them a message or something, they'd say, oh, here, this is how you fix this, or I've got a suggestion here, or have you looked over there, or I'll make sure I make that training available, or whatever it might be. So they kind of worked hand in hand a bit as far as tailoring some of the training to exactly what I needed. So that was awesome. That's probably I don't know what else to say apart from holding the hand of someone that's kind of built it all before is worth its weight in gold. You just can't, it's just, I have no idea which step to take next type of thing.
Yeah.
But in a very short period of time, relatively speaking.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Being able to build
it, create it, sell it, market it, and be able to support your family overseas, which is just absolutely phenomenal. I love that.
Yeah.
So if somebody is out there and maybe they've got something that they want to create, a big kind of program, what would your advice to them be? If they've just got the idea, they've got the concept and they're going, I just don't know what to do, what would your advice to them be?
First, book an overseas trip for a long period of time before you start. No, I'm just kidding.
Force yourself to do it.
Yeah, force yourself to do it. My advice would be if you know what you want to create, like if you can conceive in your mind what your product is, what your value is, and from previous experience, previous clients or whatever it is, you have something that's valuable and worthwhile, then just jump on board with James and Alicia and let them give you the framework to build it. If you don't know if you have something valuable, or if you don't know what you want to build, I don't think they're going to be that helpful. They may be to help you brainstorm and conceive and vision cast and try and figure something out. But I think what this program does is it creates the pathway. If you can see your end product and see what you can deliver, this gives you the means to pull it off. If that's you all you have to do is do the maths. I mean, an expensive program is not so expensive when you put it relative to the kind of money that you could generate with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is about doing the maths. We say that with when we're talking to our fully booked to that burnout clients, like they might be seeing 5 to 10 clients a week. It's a 3K program. And people are like, oh, that seems a lot of money. But it's like, well, if I can teach you how to be able to charge $90 an hour, see 25 clients a week across 48 weeks of the year, it's 108K. And if you can generate 108K in a year, $3,000 is nothing. And so logically, it makes no sense.
It's all relative.
Exactly. And it's just about doing those logical numbers and going, well, duh, and it's true. It's the same with what you're saying. If you can help my therapist is 70 clients a week, who wouldn't do it? Like, I think
my this program for me, where am I now? I'm still in the I envisage coming into a phase where there's a lot more word of mouth, where the program is well known, a little bit similar to clinical practice, but and more exposure, and that I'm starting to get some of that already. But really, I'm in the hard phase of getting it going and making it known and talking to people and lots of conversations, lots of sales and all that type of thing. But it's still paid for itself 3 times over, and I'm still in the just getting started kind of phase.
Yeah, we've only been selling since February. And what are we now?
Yeah.
September. So
Yeah.
you're in like 8 months into your first year of something you can potentially sell for the next 5 to 10, like if not more, without a major overhaul, which is phenomenal because it's so well leveraged when you've got that e-program. Which is awesome. Awesome stuff. Well, Tim, thank you so much for your time today. It has been absolutely amazing chatting with you. It's been awesome working with you, and I love the fact that you just bite off what you need and you work through it. And when you need help, you just go, hey, what is this bit? We sort you out, and you're like, back to it. You just head down, bum up. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you, and so exciting to see the awesome work that you're doing in Mauritius with your family and being able to actually support you guys with the knowledge and the training that you guys have had. It's been absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for your time today.
So there you go, guys. It's been amazing to be able to share with you Tim's story of how he's grown his business and changed his whole life as far as where his family's living and the impact that he's actually having globally in the world. What I'd love to invite you to do now is that if this has resonated with you, if you are an amazing therapist who's got something beautiful that they want to share with the world, and you know that that laptop lifestyle is totally possible, but you literally have no idea what the first step is. You don't know how to create the DNA, you don't know how to create your program, or let alone how to market it, we would love you and invite you to get in touch. Fill in your details below, and we will look forward to being able to catch up with you, connect with you, and have a chat about how you too can extract your information out of your head and create something amazing that you always have known was possible.